Hi, in this video, I will walk you through how to use my Stylized Aura VFX Toolset. You can use this tool to create interesting and completely unique magical spells, character buffs, or environmental effects. Included in this package, you will find an editor tool, 2 shaders, various sample textures and materials, a smear controller script, and a scene containing examples of my shader in action. To get started, install the package via Unity's Package Manager. You can do this by opening Window, Package Management, Package Manager. You should see the package in My Assets after purchasing it from the Assets store. Click Download and Import, then click Import again, and you'll find a new Aura VFX folder in your assets. Open the folder. Open the sample scene and you'll find a number of ways to use my shader. Many of the examples use the included Sphere Smooth Normals mesh, which is great for getting you started. If you want to use your own mesh, you can do so by opening the Smooth Normal Baker. This can be opened via Tools, Aura VFX, and clicking Smooth Normal Baker. To use this tool, start by dragging your desired prefab into your scene if it isn't already there. You can now drag the prefab's associated mesh from the scene hierarchy into the Smooth Normal Baker. The baker can accept static or skinned meshes, depending on the needs of your asset. The tool expects only one of these fields to be filled, so choose accordingly. Skinned meshes copy vertex weights and bone data so that it can be animated alongside your original asset. Choose your desired output path for the mesh asset you're about to create. Adjust bake settings if you feel it's needed. For most use cases, changing these is not required. Finally, create an empty game object as a child of your prefab. Set this as the whole target. This step is not required, but it helps to keep things organized and flowing. After baking, you will see that the empty object you created now has a mesh renderer or skinned mesh renderer, and the material will be set to none. Create a new material, name it whatever. In the shader dropdown, search for Aura and select it. Your material is now an Aura shader material, and you can drag it into your newly created asset's material field. You are now free to adjust the shader's parameters as you see fit. I recommend having the game view opened and centered on this object for an accurate reflection of the changes you make. You can now start customizing the shader's parameters. Noise texture will have the greatest influence over the material's results. Check the Package's Textures folder for some sample textures that you may use in any of your projects. Of course, any tiling texture will be applicable here, so go wild. Vertex displacement will occur on the white values of this texture, and the amplitude of this displacement can be adjusted to taste. You can adjust the flow rate and direction of this texture. You can adjust the color, Fresnel, and alpha of your material. Use erosion lower limit as the alpha start point and erosion upper limit to control how much to erode based on that starting point. Global fade controls the overall transparency of the material. Finally, you can adjust a couple of smear parameters, which will only be apparent during runtime. I recommend keeping them at their default values. We will cover this in more detail soon. Looking at your object, you'll notice that the texture is only projected on a single plane. As a result, the texture is stretched where it meets at the seam. To counter this, adjust your shader material to Aura Triplanar instead. You'll need to readjust the noise tiling to better match your desired result. You can then adjust the triplanar sharpness to control the transition between projection planes. The result will be a much more fluid and organic material that looks great from all angles. Do note that the triplanar shader uses around 3 times more processing power than the standard version because each vertex needs to account for each plane to calculate its offset. You can now use the texture sliders to control the weight with which each plane is projected. 0 for none, 1 for full. Nice. This is looking pretty cool. But our object looks too static when moving. Look inside Tools, Scripts, or Controller, and you'll find scr smearcontroller.cs. Drag this onto your Aura game object or into the inspector with the object selected. You'll find new inspector parameters that control the object's smear. Smear responsiveness and far smear responsiveness are the most influential parameters. These control vectors that lag slightly behind your object's world position. Lower values will make the smear vector take longer to return to your object's central position, thus resulting in a longer smear. Inflation per smear unit will make the mesh expand or shrink based on how far the smear vector is from the object. Use negative values for a nice squash and stretch effect. The base smear offset is there if you want smearing to occur, even when the object is stationary. Use this to create an interesting aura around a character or a more natural fire effect. This can be also used to create interesting beams. Spawn lerp speed controls how quickly the smear vector moves towards this offset upon spawning. Finally, you can choose whether the smear vector's associated gizmo should be visible regardless if the object is selected or not, and you can change the size of the gizmo using gizmo radius. That covers everything included inside the package. If you have any questions or suggestions, please leave a comment in this video or feel free to reach out to me on X. Happy creating!